Get out of first class, now! People like you don't belong here. Blake Hart grabbed Opal Ford's boarding pass and ripped it in half, letting the pieces fall at her feet like trash. Who do you think you are? She seized Opal's bag and hurled it down the aisle. It crashed into a seat. Passengers gasped. She stepped close to Owen Ford. Back to economy where you belong. Her voice was loud, deliberate. She wanted everyone to hear her put these two black passengers in their place. White passengers froze, some stared, most looked away. No one spoke. Blake Hart had just made the worst mistake of her life. She wouldn't realize it until far too late, because those two passengers, they had power she couldn't imagine. And what happened next would bring her entire world crashing down. Have you ever watched someone destroy themselves with their own hatred? Keep watching. Justice is coming. 48 hours earlier. A secure room buried deep inside the FAA's Atlanta office. No windows. One door. And on the wall, photographs of 3 mangled aircraft. Lynn Ward stood at the head of the table, her face grim. She was the FAA regional director, and in her 15 years, she'd never seen anything like this. Operation Nightfall, she said, sliding folders across to Opal and Owen Ford. 3 crashes, 8 months, 61 people dead. Opal opened the file. The first page showed a passenger manifest. Names, ages, a 6-year-old girl, a newlywed couple, a grandfather flying home for his birthday. Same airline? Owen asked. Apex Air. And we believe it's not coincidence. Lynn pulled up a document on the screen. Training records, maintenance logs, all signed off, all approved. We think they're falsifying safety records to cut costs, skipping inspections, rushing crews through training, and people are dying because of it. Owen leaned forward. What do you need from us? Fly undercover. Flight 528 tomorrow morning. First class puts you close to the crew. Observe their protocols, document everything, and whatever you do, do not blow your cover. Opal stared at the photographs on the wall. Wreckage, body bags, families holding each other at funerals. What if something goes wrong? She asked. Lynn's answer was firm. It won't. No one knows you're coming. But someone did. That same night, in a dimly lit office across town, Dale Price's phone rang. He was Apex Air's operations manager, the man responsible for keeping flights on schedule and costs down, way down. Yeah? His voice was tired. The caller's voice was distorted, careful. 2 FAA inspectors, flight 528, tomorrow morning, first class. Dale sat up straight. Names? Ford, Opal and Owen Ford. Dale's jaw tightened. I'll handle it. He hung up and immediately dialed another number. It rang 3 times before a woman answered. Blake, it's me. I need a favor. Blake Hart was at home, reviewing the next day's flight assignments. What kind of favor? Flight 528. 2 passengers in first class, row 2, watch them closely. Watch them for what? Dale chose his words carefully. Just pay attention. If anything seems off, I want to know. There was a pause. Blake and Dale had been involved for 6 months. It was supposed to be secret, but everyone knew, and when Dale asked for favors, Blake always delivered. What are their names? Ford, Opal and Owen. Just keep an eye on them. Blake wrote it down. Okay, but Dale, what's this about? Insurance. That's all. Just be careful. He hung up before she could ask more questions. The next morning, Opal and Owen stood at the Apex Air check-in counter. The agent smiled politely as she typed. Mr. and Mrs. Ford, I have great news. You've been upgraded to first class. Complimentary. Opal and Owen exchanged a glance. We didn't request an upgrade, Owen said quietly. The agent looked at her screen. It shows here as automatic. Frequent flyer benefit. Opal leaned closer to Owen. Did you use miles? No. You? No. The boarding passes were already printing. First class, seats 2A and 2B. Something felt wrong, but they couldn't refuse without drawing attention. Thank you, Opal said, taking the passes. As they walked towards security, Owen whispered, That wasn't random. I know. In their carry-on bag was everything that could destroy Apex Air. A pen with a hidden camera, a watch that recorded audio, an encrypted tablet loaded with crash investigation files, photographs of 61 victims. If TSA opened that bag, if anyone discovered what they were carrying, the entire operation would collapse. The bag passed through the X-ray machine. The officer barely glanced at the screen. waved them through. They exhaled. Meanwhile, at the airport crew lounge, Blake Hart sat alone, staring at her phone. Dale's text from an hour ago. Row 2. Watch them. Report anything unusual. She pulled up the passenger manifest on her tablet. Ford, Opal, Ford, Owen. First class. Why did Dale care about 2 random passengers? She deleted the text, checked her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Practiced her smile. Welcome aboard, she said to herself. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. At the gate, boarding began. Opal and Owen joined the first-class line. As they walked down the jetway, Opal adjusted her watch. The hidden recorder clicked on. They stepped onto the plane. Blake Hart stood at the entrance, greeting passengers with a bright professional smile, until she saw them. 2 black passengers, row 2, first class. Her smile faltered for just a second. Her eyes flicked to her tablet. Ford, Opal and Owen Ford. Boarding passes, she said. Her voice had changed. Flat, cold. Opal handed them over. Blake examined them far longer than necessary. Checked the names twice, looked at their faces, back at the passes. First class is to your left. No smile, no welcome, just direction. As Opal and Owen moved past her, Blake pulled out her phone and typed quickly, "They're here." She hit send, then deleted the message. Something was about to go very, very wrong. 10 minutes into the flight, the seatbelt sign clicked off. Blake Hart grabbed the beverage cart and wheeled it into first class. Her professional smile was already in place. Row 1, an elderly white couple in their 70s. The woman wore pearls. "Good morning. Coffee, orange juice? We have fresh fruit if you'd like something light." The woman smiled. "Coffee would be lovely, dear." "Absolutely. Cream and sugar. Just a little cream. Perfect. And for you, sir?" The man chuckled. "Same for me. Very kind of you." Blake beamed. "My pleasure." Row 3. Kyle Reed in a business suit, laptop open. "Good morning, sir. Fresh squeezed orange juice, premium coffee, something stronger?" She winked. Kyle laughed. "Too early for that. Just water." "Sparkling or still?" "Still. Perfect. Let me know if you need anything else." Then row 2. Opal and Owen Ford. Blake's smile vanished. "Beverages?" One flat word. Opal looked up. "Orange juice, please." No response. Blake turned to Owen. "Coffee. Black." Blake didn't write it down, just stared too long. "What brings you to Atlanta?" Not friendly. Interrogation. Owen stayed polite. "Personal trip." Blake crossed her arms. "Business or pleasure?" "Anniversary," Opal said. "How many years?" 10. "And what do you both do for work?" The fishing began. "Government work," Owen said. Blake leaned in. "What kind?" "Administrative." "Administrative government work." She tested the words. "Interesting. What department?" "Various." Blake stared for a long moment, then turned and walked away. No smile, no acknowledgement. Brad Cole was near the galley organizing snacks. He'd watched everything. "Blake, what was that?" "What?" "You were different with them, completely different." Her voice dropped. "Just watch them." "Why?" "Something's not right. They seem normal." "Brad, trust me, watch them." Brad nodded uncomfortably. No point arguing when Blake got like this. 15 minutes later, Blake returned with the cart. Brad pushed from behind. As they approached row 2, Blake angled the cart slightly right. Just inches. Not enough for Brad to notice. When it reached Owen's seat, she let it bump the armrest. Hard. Owen's briefcase on the floor tipped over. The latch popped. Everything started spilling. Tablet, folder, pen. Owen's hand shot out impossibly fast. Caught the briefcase mid-fall, shoved everything back before anything hit the floor. Pure protective instinct. The kind you only see in people guarding classified material. Blake saw it. That speed. That desperation. "Oh my goodness, so sorry." Her apology was loud, performative. "Let me help." She bent down, reaching for the briefcase. Owen pulled it away. "I've got it." But Blake had seen something. A folder tab. Black letters, Apex Air, confidential. Her eyes went wide, then hardened. "Those look important." "Client files," Owen said evenly. "You're a lawyer?" "The files are confidential." "Attorney-client privilege," Opal added firmly. Blake stood. "Of course, my apologies." Walking back to the galley, her mind raced. Dale told her to watch them. Now she'd seen Apex Air files. Who were these people? She pulled out her phone, typed, "They have files, Apex files, confidential documents. What do I do?" Dale's response, "Get them off that plane, now." Brad noticed her pale face, shaking hands. "Blake, what's going on? I need to make a call." She picked up the internal phone to ground operations. "This is Hart, flight 528. I need to verify a passenger upgrade immediately." Bored voice. "Go ahead. Seats 2A and 2B, Ford, Opal and Owen." Typing sounds. Pause. "Showing complimentary upgrade, confirmed this morning. Who authorized it?" More typing. "Automatic. Frequent flyer miles." Blake's jaw clenched. The manifest was completely clear. She didn't care. "There's been an error. Ma'am, the system is clear. I don't care. Get me Dale Price. We have a situation. Ma'am, just do it." She hung up. Brad stared. "The manifest shows they're fine. I'm doing my job." She walked back to row 2. Brad followed reluctantly. Blake stopped at their seats. Her voice carried. "Mr. and Mrs. Ford, I need to speak with you about your seats." Opal looked up. "What about them?" "There's a discrepancy with your upgrade." Owen's voice had an edge. "What kind?" "I need your original booking confirmation. We showed boarding passes at the gate. I need the email confirmation you received when you booked." Absurd request. Opal pulled out her phone anyway, started scrolling. "This will take a minute." Blake stood there, arms crossed, hovering. Passengers were noticing. Wrong body language, wrong tone. Betty Moore in row 3 whispered to her husband, "What's going on?" 2 minutes later, Opal found the email, held up her phone. Blake barely glanced. "This could be edited." The words dropped like stones. Owen's voice went cold. "Excuse me? Digital confirmations can be altered, photoshopped." Opal's eyes widened. "Are you accusing us of fraud?" "I'm verifying with the captain." "Verify what?" Owen demanded. "Your manifest shows first class. Gate agent confirmed it. What are you saying?" Blake's face flushed. "You need to move to economy. We're in our assigned seats." "No, you're not." Silence. Every passenger watching. Betty couldn't stay quiet. "I saw them board with first-class tickets. What's the problem?" Blake's head snapped. "This doesn't concern you. You're disrupting everyone." Blake ignored her. "If you don't move, I'll contact law enforcement." Owen stood. "You're calling police because we're in our assigned seats? You're refusing crew instructions." "What instructions? The illegal ones?" "Interfering with a flight crew is a federal offense under 49 U.S.C. 46,504 inches. She knew the exact statute, trained. Owen didn't flinch. "Discrimination is prohibited under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We both know federal law." Blake's eyes flickered. These weren't normal passengers. Brad stepped forward. "Blake, maybe check with the captain. Stay out of this. The manifest clearly—" "I said stay out!" Sharp enough that passengers flinched. Brad stepped back, face burning. He knew this was wrong, but didn't have courage to stop it. Blake grabbed the PA microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the disruption. We're addressing a seating irregularity and appreciate your patience." She'd announced to the entire plane there was a problem with them. Betty stood, voice shaking. "This is outrageous." "They've done nothing wrong." Blake's face twisted. "Sit down or you'll be removed too." Kyle Reed had his phone out, recording for 5 minutes. Blake saw it. "Recording is not permitted. Put that away." Owen's voice cut through. "FAA Regulation 14 CFR Part 91.21 allows passenger recording unless it interferes with crew duties. It doesn't." Blake froze. How did he know the exact regulation? She recovered. "I'm speaking with the captain." She walked to the cockpit, knocked 3 sharp times. Captain Jack Wade opened the door, 25 years flying. Blake's face told him this was different. "Yes, Miss Hart?" "Captain, serious situation. 2 passengers in first class. Questionable upgrade. Refusing to move. Maybe a security issue." Jack frowned. "Did you check the manifest?" "Yes, but what does it show?" "First class, but something's not right. They don't belong up here." Jack's face went stone. "Unless they're a safety threat, they stay. We're not reseating passengers based on feelings. Clear? But Captain, final. Handle complaints on the ground." He closed the door. Blake stood there, fists clenched. Fine. She'd handle this herself. She walked back, stopped at row 2, voice loud. "Final opportunity. Move to economy or I declare this a security incident. Law enforcement will be waiting. Your choice." Opal's voice was steel. "We're not moving. We've done nothing wrong." You've made your choice. You'll face consequences. Blake grabbed the PA again. Ladies and gentlemen, due to passenger non-compliance, we may experience delays upon landing. We apologize for the inconvenience these individuals have caused. She'd blamed them publicly. Turned the cabin against them. Some passengers looked sympathetic, others annoyed. A man in row 5 muttered, "Just move already." Betty shook her head in disgust. Kyle kept recording. For the next 43 minutes, tension filled the cabin. Blake watched from the galley like a guard. Brad stood nearby, miserable, too terrified to speak. Opal and Owen sat silent, hands clasped, waiting. 30,000 feet below, Atlanta got closer. Blake had made her calls. Security would be boarding. What Blake didn't know, Opal had made a call too, on the Wi-Fi, quiet, careful, to the FAA regional director. The plane began descent. Seatbelt sign chimed. When those wheels touched runway in 14 minutes, everything would explode. The plane touched down, smooth landing. But the cabin felt anything but smooth. The PA crackled. "Please remain seated. Law enforcement boarding." Passengers shifted uncomfortably, whispered. Opal leaned to Owen. "Protect the briefcase. If they search it, I know." The door opened. 2 officers stepped on. Officer Grant, a black man in his 40s. Officer Mills, a Hispanic woman in her 30s. Blake rushed toward them. "Officers, thank you. Those 2 in row 2. Hostile and non-compliant the entire flight." Officer Grant held up a hand. "We'll handle this," Blake continued. "They refused crew instructions, threatened me. Major disruption." Officer Mills walked to row 2. "Sir, ma'am, please step off with us." Owen stood calmly. "Of course." Opal gathered her things. "Happy to comply." Their cooperation caught the officers off guard. They walked to the jetway. Blake and Brad followed. Private area. Officer Grant pulled out a notepad. "What happened?" Blake jumped in. "They were in first class. I found a discrepancy. When I asked them to move, they became aggressive." Officer Mills looked at Opal and Owen. "Aggressive how?" Raised voices, confrontational. "One said I'd regret this," Officer Grant wrote. "Physical threats?" The implication was clear. "Not what I asked." "Physical harm?" Blake hesitated. "Not explicitly." Officer Mills turned to Owen. "Your version?" "We were upgraded legitimately. Had boarding passes. She confronted us, claimed fraud without evidence. We refused to leave our assigned seats." Officer Grant looked at Blake. "Boarding passes?" Blake handed them over. Officer Grant examined them. "These show first class. The system made an error." "Did you verify?" "I called ground operations." "What did they say?" Silence. "Miss Hart, what did they say?" "The upgrade was confirmed." Officer Mills raised eyebrows. "System showed first class, ground confirmed, but you still asked them to move?" Something wasn't right. "Not right how?" "They seemed suspicious." Owen's phone buzzed. Text from unknown. "They know. Price told Hart to watch for inspectors, cover blown, protect evidence, TB." He showed Opal discreetly. Officer Grant noticed. "Problem?" Opal's mind raced. Mission compromised. "We need to resolve this quickly. We have sensitive work materials." Officer Mills frowned. "Your bags are safe on the plane. I have confidential documents. I need to secure..." Blake saw an opening. "Officers, they have a briefcase. When I bumped it, he reacted defensively. They may be hiding something." Officer Grant looked at Owen. "Mind if we inspect it?" Owen's heart hammered. Inside was everything. Camera, investigation files, photos of 61 victims. It contains client files, attorney-client privilege. Officer Mills stepped closer. "Just need to ensure nothing dangerous." Opal jumped in. "Fourth Amendment. You need probable cause." Officer Grant's eyes narrowed. "You know the Fourth Amendment well. Every citizen should." "Most don't cite it word for word," Blake pressed. "See, they're hiding something." Tense moment. Officer Mills looked at Officer Grant. Silent communication. "Let's get statements first," Officer Mills said. Behind them, footsteps. Betty Moore and Kyle Reed appeared. Betty's voice was firm. "Officers, I witnessed everything." Officer Grant turned. "Ma'am, we'll take your statement." "I have video." Everything stopped. Officer Mills's expression changed. "You recorded it?" "Every word." Kyle stepped forward. "I have video too. Complete footage." Officer Grant and Mills exchanged glances. "Let's see them." Betty played her phone. Audio clear. Blake's voice. "These seats aren't for people like you. You don't belong here. Move to economy where you belong." Officer Grant's face grew serious. Mills shook her head. Blake's face went white. That's out of context. There's a lot of context here, Officer Grant said coldly. None of it good for you. Kyle played his video. Blake's warm tone with white passengers. Cold, hostile tone with Opal and Owen. The contrast undeniable. Officer Mills turned to Brad. You were there the whole time? Brad looked miserable. Yes, ma'am. What did you see? Brad looked at Blake. Then away. Voice quiet. They didn't do anything wrong. Blake's head snapped. Brad! I'm sorry, Blake. You asked me to watch them. I watched. They were just sitting there. The manifest showed first class. The captain told you to leave them alone. You kept pushing. Officer Grant's voice was hard. So the passengers were correctly seated? Brad's voice barely a whisper. Yes. Then why were they being asked to move? Long pause. I don't know. Officer Grant turned to Blake. This looks like discrimination. That's not what this is. Then what is it? They were suspicious. Suspicious how? The briefcase, their answers. They're hiding something. Officer Mills looked at Opal and Owen. Anything you'd like to tell us? Opal and Owen exchanged a long look. Mission already blown. The text confirmed it. Dale knew. Blake knew. Keep cover and face arrest or reveal identity and secure evidence. Owen made the decision. Officers, we need to speak with your supervisor and contact the FAA immediately. Officer Grant frowned. The FAA? Why? Opal's voice steady. Because we work for them. Complete silence. Officer Mills blinked. You work for the FAA? Owen reached into his jacket slowly, pulled out his leather credential wallet, opened it. Federal Aviation Administration badge, Inspector credentials. Owen Ford, GS-13. Officer Grant's eyes went wide. Jesus Christ. Opal pulled out her credentials. Same badge, same authority. Officer Mills looked at Blake. You just harassed 2 federal inspectors. Blake's face drained of all color. I didn't... How was I supposed to know? Owen's voice was cold. You weren't supposed to know. You were supposed to treat every passenger with respect. Officer Grant stared at the badges. You're federal inspectors. That's correct, Owen said. Officer Mills looked at Blake. You just tried to throw 2 federal inspectors off a plane. Blake's mouth opened. No words came. Officer Grant turned to Opal and Owen. Why didn't you identify yourselves earlier? We were undercover, Opal said. Undercover for what? Owen pulled out his phone. Opened an encrypted file. Showed Officer Grant. 3 crash sites, wreckage, body bags. 3 crashes, 8 months, 61 people dead, all Apex Air flights. Officer Mills leaned in. Her face went pale. What? We believe Apex Air is falsifying safety records, skipping inspections, rushing crew training. People are dying. Officer Grant's voice was quiet. You were investigating on this flight? Undercover, observing crew protocols, gathering evidence. Owen held up the briefcase. This contains crash investigation files, recording equipment, federal documents. If we'd let you search it, we would have compromised an 8-month investigation. Officer Mills looked at Blake. Did you know they were inspectors? No! I had no idea. Then why target them? I didn't target them. The videos show you were warm to white passengers, cold and hostile to them. Explain. Blake's eyes filled with tears. I thought something was wrong. Their upgrade seemed suspicious. The manifest showed they belonged there. I thought there was an error. Or you didn't think they belonged in first class. Opal stepped forward. You ripped our boarding pass, threw our bag, publicly humiliated us, threatened arrest, all because of our skin color. I'm not racist. Then why treat us differently? Blake had no answer. Owen pulled out his phone. Someone tipped off the airline. We received this text during the incident. He showed the officers. They know. Price told Hart to watch for inspectors. Officer Grant read it. Who's Price? Dale Price, Apex Air's operations manager. Officer Mills looked at Blake. Did Dale Price tell you to watch for these passengers? Blake's face went white. I don't... Miss Hart, did Dale Price contact you? Blake's voice barely audible. He called me last night. What did he say? He told me to watch 2 passengers, Ford. He said if anything seemed off, report it. Officer Grant's expression hardened. So this wasn't random. You were instructed to target them. I didn't know they were inspectors. But you knew Dale Price wanted them watched. Why? He didn't say, just said be careful. Owen's voice was cold. Dale Price knew we were coming because someone leaked our operation. He instructed you to interfere. That's obstruction. Blake's legs looked unsteady. I didn't obstruct anything. I was doing what Dale asked. You tried to remove federal inspectors conducting an investigation. That's obstruction. Opal pulled out her phone. I'm calling our director. She dialed. 2 rings. Lynn Ward. Director Inspector Ford. We have a situation. Covers blown. Flight attendant confronted us. She knew we were coming. Lynn's voice went sharp. Impossible. Only 3 people knew. Someone leaked. Dale Price tipped off the crew. We have a text confirming it. Long pause. Evidence secured? Yes. But the flight attendant claims she didn't know who we were, just following Price's orders. Orders to do what? Watch us. Report anything suspicious. She saw our briefcase had Apex files and tried to get us removed. Lynn's voice was ice. Put me on speaker. Opal hit the button. You're on. Officers Grant and Mills from Airport Security are here. Officers, this is Lynn Ward, FAA Regional Director. These passengers are senior inspectors under my command. They were conducting a classified investigation into safety violations that resulted in 61 deaths. Any interference is a federal offense. Officer Grant cleared his throat. Ma'am, we have video evidence of discrimination and confirmation she was acting on instructions from an airline executive. Then we have obstruction and conspiracy. I'm sending FBI. Don't let anyone leave, especially the flight attendant. Blake's face was chalk white. Lynn continued. Inspectors Ford, secure all evidence. Full report in 2 hours. And Ford? Yes, Director? Go public. Tell the media everything. We're done hiding. Opal blinked. You want us to make a public statement? I want the world to know what happened, and I want Apex Air to know we're coming. Lynn hung up. Officer Mills looked at Blake. Miss Hart, you need to come with us. Am I being arrested? Not yet, but you're not free to leave. Blake's voice cracked. I want my union representative, a lawyer. You can call them from the security office. Officer Grant turned to Opal and Owen. There's media outside. Passengers posted videos. It's viral. Owen looked at Opal. Director said go public. Opal nodded. Let's go. They walked toward the terminal, through the door, into the main concourse. Reporters were already there. Cameras, microphones. A reporter pushed forward. Are you the passengers from Flight 528? Owen stepped forward. Yes. What happened? We were racially profiled and threatened with arrest by an Apex Air flight attendant. She tried to remove us from our assigned seats. Another reporter. Why were you targeted? Opal spoke clearly. Because we're black, and because we're federal aviation inspectors investigating why 61 people died in crashes involving this airline. The reporters erupted, cameras flashing, questions shouting. You're FAA inspectors? What crashes? Is Apex Air under investigation? Owen held up a hand. 3 crashes in 8 months. Same airline. We believe systematic safety violations, falsified training records, skipped inspections. When we flew undercover to investigate, an airline executive tipped off the crew. What happened wasn't just discrimination. It was an attempt to sabotage a federal investigation into 61 deaths. A reporter thrust forward a microphone. Do you have proof? We have everything. Documents, recordings, witness testimony. Video evidence of obstruction. Another reporter. What happens now? FBI is involved. Criminal charges are coming. This airline will be held accountable. Opal added, every passenger deserves dignity and respect. Every airline must put safety over profit. Apex Air failed on both. The footage was going live, streaming, spreading across social media. Within minutes, hashtags were trending. Justice for the 61. Apex cover-up. At Apex Air headquarters, phones rang off the hook. Executives scrambling. Emergency meetings called. The CEO stared at news coverage on 6 screens. How did this happen? His legal counsel looked sick. The inspectors went public. They're claiming obstruction, conspiracy, and safety violations that killed 61 people. Get me Dale Price now. In his office, Dale Price watched the same coverage. Phone buzzed. CEO calling. He didn't answer. He was deleting texts, clearing call logs, but he knew it was too late. FBI could recover everything. His career was over. He stared at the news footage. Opal and Owen Ford in front of cameras. Badges out. Evidence secured. Truth coming out. Dale had tried to stop them. Instead, he'd given them everything they needed to bring down the whole operation. 6 hours after Flight 528 landed, Apex Air Headquarters was in crisis. The conference room packed. CEO Richard Hayes, legal counsel, PR director, HR director, all staring at screens showing viral videos. View count 8 million. Richard looked like he'd aged 10 years. Explain how 2 FAA inspectors were racially profiled on our aircraft. Legal counsel played the videos. Blake saying, "These seats aren't for people like you." Blake throwing a bag. Blake's different tone with white versus black passengers. "Clear discrimination," the counsel said. HR director opened a file. "Hart's been with us 6 years. 3 prior complaints, all dismissed." Richard's head snapped up. 3 complaints? Yes. Passengers claim she was rude or dismissive. We couldn't prove anything. Couldn't prove or didn't try? Uncomfortable silence. VP of Operations spoke. "What's our liability?" Legal counsel breathed deep. "Federal civil rights violation, DOT fines, FAA sanctions, loss of government contracts, possible loss of operating certificate, plus wrongful death lawsuits from the 61 crash victims. We're looking at hundreds of millions." Richard's face went gray. "Where's Dale Price?" Not answering. "Find him." 24 hours later, Lynn Ward sat in her FAA office reviewing Opal and Owen's formal report. Her assistant knocked. "The airline's CEO is calling. Tell him I'll call back." She read aloud. "Inspectors Ford subjected to discriminatory treatment based on race. Flight attendant Hart exhibited clear bias in tone, word choice, actions." She made red ink notes. Pattern, escalation, public humiliation, threat of law enforcement. Her phone rang. DOT. "Yes, full investigation. 3 investigators assigned. No, the airline did not handle this properly." She hung up. "Get me Hart's training records and those 3 prior complaint files." "Already requested." At the FAA interview room, Opal and Owen sat with lead investigator Thompson. "Walk us through the emotional component. How did this feel?" Opal paused. "Humiliated, angry, but not surprised." "Not surprised? I'm a black woman in America. This isn't the first time someone questioned whether I belong somewhere. It's just the first time I could respond with a federal badge." Owen leaned forward. "The worst part wasn't the accusation. It was watching her try to turn the cabin against us, making us criminals for sitting in assigned seats." Thompson wrote quickly. "Did you consider identifying yourselves earlier? Multiple times? Why didn't you?" "We wanted to see how she'd handle it. As passengers, not inspectors." "Why?" Opal's voice was firm. "Because every black passenger deserves to be treated like a human being. Not because they have a badge, but because it's right." Thompson looked up. "That's going in the report. Verbatim." Owen continued. "The system failed before we got on that plane. Hart had 3 prior complaints. Nothing happened. That's not a Hart problem. That's a system problem." "Do you believe this was isolated?" Opal shook her head. "Hart's behavior? Maybe. The fact she felt comfortable doing it? That's systemic. She knew she could get away with it because she had, 3 times. At Apex HR office, Blake sat with her union rep. Across the table, HR director and legal counsel. "Miss Hart, we've reviewed the videos. Explain your actions." Blake's voice defensive. "I was following protocol." Legal counsel cut in. "The manifest showed they were correctly seated." "I thought there was an error." "Based on what?" Long pause. "I don't know. It just seemed wrong." Counsel played video. "These seats aren't for people like you?" "What did you mean?" Blake flushed. "People without proper documentation. They had boarding passes. I thought they might be fake. Why? I just had a feeling." HR director leaned forward. "You've had 3 prior complaints. Did you know?" Blake's eyes widened. "Those were resolved." "Dismissed. There's a difference." She pulled files. "August 2022. Black male passenger. You refused alcohol service, claiming intoxication. Blood test showed 0 alcohol." Blake's mouth opened. "I thought he was drunk." "Based on what?" "The way he was acting." "Acting how?" "Loud. March 2023. Hispanic female passenger. You ignored her service requests for 30 minutes while serving white passengers." "We were busy." "The others you served were all white." "Coincidence." January 2024. Middle Eastern male. You questioned him extensively about his travel, work, ticket legitimacy. Blake was crying. "I was being thorough." Legal counsel's voice was ice. No, Miss Hart, you were profiling for years. We let it happen because we didn't take complaints seriously. That ends now. Union rep spoke. My client has rights. Your client is terminated, effective immediately, for cause. She's lucky we're not pressing charges. Blake's voice cracked. You're firing me? You profiled 2 federal inspectors on camera, attempted to obstruct a federal investigation, violated every anti-discrimination policy. Yes. In another room, Brad sat alone. HR director's tone was softer. You witnessed everything? Yes. Why didn't you intervene? Brad's voice whispered. Blake is senior. I thought she knew what she was doing. Even when you verified the manifest was correct? Yes. You told her it showed first class? Yes. She continued anyway? She said the system could be wrong, but you knew it wasn't. Yes. So you let her harass 2 federal inspectors even though you knew they were right? Brad's tears started. I was scared of losing my job. You protected your job at their expense. I know. I'm sorry. HR director sighed. Sorry doesn't undo it. 6 months suspension without pay. Mandatory retraining. One more incident, you're done. Understand? Yes. Next time you see something wrong, speak up. 48 hours later, FBI agent Ross sat across from Dale Price. Dale had a lawyer. Ross laid out phone records. How did you know Inspector Ford would be on flight 528? Dale's lawyer started speaking. Ross held up a hand. Your records show 3 calls to Blake Hart the night before. 12 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes. What were those about? Dale's jaw tightened. Personal. You're having an affair with Hart? Private. Not when it involves obstruction. Ross slid a document. We recovered your deleted texts. Dale's face paled. Ross read. A text from Dale Price to Blake Hart, 11:02 p.m. Quote, 2 FAA inspectors. Flight 528, first class Ford. Watch them. End quote. Dale's lawyer put a hand on his arm. Don't say anything. Ross continued. So you knew. Question is, who told you? Silence. Someone at FAA leaked Operation Nightfall. That's a crime. You passed information to Hart instructing interference. That's obstruction. Dale's lawyer whispered urgently. Ross leaned back. 61 people died. Your airline cut corners on safety. When FAA sent inspectors, you tried to stop them. That makes you accessory to negligent homicide. The words hung. Dale's lawyer spoke. What are you offering? Full cooperation, names, documents, testimony. In exchange, reduced charges, clocks ticking. Dale looked at his lawyer. Back at Ross. Voice defeated. I want immunity. We'll consider it. Start talking. Across town, Agent Ross met Tom Blake, the whistleblower. Tom was 50, black, 15 years in maintenance. Tom pushed a folder across. 8 months of documentation, photos, maintenance logs, training records, all falsified. Ross flipped through. Expression darkened. Falsified how? Crew training sign-offs for people who never trained. Engine maintenance marked complete when skipped. Safety equipment marked inspected when it wasn't. Why didn't you report through official channels? Tom's voice bitter. I did. 3 times. To Dale Price. Every report I filed, he buried. He pulled emails, Tom's reports to Dale, Dale's responses. We'll investigate. Nothing happened. When I heard 2 black passengers got harassed on 528, I knew. Had to be the inspectors. Dale was paranoid for weeks. Kept talking about FAA undercover. How did you know to text them? I didn't know for sure, but if they were inspectors, they needed to know the operation was blown. Ross studied him. You might have saved this investigation. I wanted those 61 people to get justice. Some were my co-workers, good people, dead because executives wanted to save money. Tom's voice broke. I knew the crew on the second crash. Captain Williams, First Officer Hayes, 3 flight attendants. They died because a maintenance issue was signed off as fixed. It wasn't. I saw the log. Will you testify? Anywhere. I'll tell everything. Back at FAA, Lynn compiled witness statements. Betty Moore. Clear discrimination from the beginning, different tone, different service. I've flown 40 years, never seen anything like it. Kyle Reed. I travel weekly. I've seen rude attendants. This wasn't rude. This was targeted. She decided they didn't belong the moment she saw them. Jane Mills. Uncomfortable to watch. You could feel the bias. Everyone in that cabin knew. Captain Jack Wade. Hart showed poor judgment before, but this crossed every line. I should have intervened sooner. Lynn noted. Even the captain admitted failure. She opened prior complaint files. Same pattern, passenger of color, differential treatment, complaint filed, investigation cursory, conclusion, insufficient evidence, closed. Lynn called Apex HR head. This is Lynn Ward, FAA. I'm looking at 3 complaints against Hart, all dismissed, all passengers of color, all showing bias. Why was nothing done? HR director defensive. We investigated. No. You documented and buried. You had 3 opportunities to stop this. You failed 3 times, and now we have video of exactly what those passengers complained about. Director Ward, this isn't just about Hart. This is about your system. Hiring, training, oversight, complaint process, all failed. 61 people are dead because your airline prioritized profit over safety. She hung up. 72 hours later, Apex Board held emergency meeting. Richard Hayes stood at the table. He looked like he hadn't slept. FAA is considering revoking our operating certificate. EOT is reviewing every civil rights complaint from 5 years. We could lose $400 million in government contracts. Board member spoke. Can we fight? Legal counsel shook head. Fight what? 2 inspectors profiled on video, multiple witnesses. Prior complaints we ignored. Our operations manager conspired to obstruct. There's nothing to fight. What about Dale? FBI arrested him this morning. Obstruction charges. He's cooperating. Cooperating how? Giving them everything. Names, documents, testimony about safety violations. Silence. Richard spoke quietly. How bad? Counsel breathed deep. The inspectors were right. We did falsify training records, skip maintenance, cut costs. 3 planes crashed because of it. If families prove negligence, we're looking at wrongful death suits over $500 million. Board members stood. We need to settle. Immediately. With who? Everyone. The Fords, the families, FAA, DOT, settle everything before trial. Richard looked at counsel. What would that take? Everything. Terminations, policy changes, independent oversight, financial penalties, public apology, complete transparency on crashes. Do it. All of it. Richard, I said do it. This company failed. We failed. 61 people are dead. 2 inspectors were humiliated. We let it happen. Make it right, whatever it costs. Board-approved settlement. Unanimous. Within the week, Blake terminated, Brad suspended, Dale charged federally, Tom given whistleblower protection. Apex entered consent decree with FAA. 3 years federal monitoring, independent audits, mandatory training, 0 tolerance, $500,000 to NAACP. It wasn't justice, but it was accountability, and sometimes that's where change begins. 2 weeks after Flight 528, Apex Air held a press conference. Richard Hayes stood at the podium. Beside him, Lynn Ward, cameras everywhere. 2 weeks ago, 2 passengers were subjected to discriminatory treatment that violated their civil rights. Those passengers were federal aviation inspectors investigating safety failures that resulted in 61 deaths. We failed them. We failed those 61 people. We failed everyone. He paused. Today, we announce comprehensive changes. We have terminated 1 employee and suspended another. Our operations manager has been arrested. More importantly, we are implementing reforms to ensure this never happens again. He read from a statement. 0 tolerance discrimination policy, independent review board for complaints, quarterly bias training for all employees, direct hotline for passengers. $500,000 donation to the NAACP, full cooperation with FAA investigation. A reporter shouted, "Will you name the victims? They've requested privacy. We respect that." Lynn Ward stepped forward. The FAA will monitor Apex Air for 3 years. Any violation will result in sanctions, up to revocation of their operating certificate. That same day, Blake Hart sat in her apartment. Boxes everywhere. TV played the press conference. Her unnamed termination discussed on national news. Phone buzzed. Union rep. "I'm sorry. Nothing more we can do." Blake stared at unemployment paperwork. Her career over. 29. Fired. Unemployable in aviation. TV showed the videos again. Her voice. "These seats aren't for people like you." She looked away. 3 weeks later, Brad Cole sat in court-mandated civil rights education. The instructor, a black woman in her 50s, spoke. "Bystander intervention can change outcomes. When you see something wrong and say nothing, you become part of the problem." Brad took notes. Actually listening. After class, he approached. "I was the bystander. I saw it, knew it was wrong, said nothing." She looked at him. "That's why you're here. Will you actually change? I have to. I saw what silence costs. 6 months later, Brad returned to work. First week back, he saw a flight attendant being short with a South Asian passenger. Brad pulled her aside. Check yourself. That passenger deserves the same respect as everyone else. She looked surprised. I know, don't. She adjusted, apologized to the passenger. Small moment, but it mattered. Meanwhile, changes rolled out industry-wide. Week 1, Apex began mandatory training. Every employee, 8 hours of implicit bias training. The trainer showed Flight 528 videos, no names, but everyone knew. Notice the differential treatment. Same job, different passengers, different tone, that's bias. Employees shifted uncomfortably. Week 4, Independent Review Board met. Former civil rights attorney, passenger advocate, industry expert. They reviewed dismissed complaints, 23 cases over 5 years, all passengers of color, all dismissed. This isn't insufficient evidence, the attorney said. This is insufficient investigation. They reopened every case. Week 8, new cabin procedures. Every flight attendant carried a checklist. One highlighted question. Am I treating all passengers with equal respect? Simple question. Powerful reminder. Week 12, first passenger testimonial, a black businessman. I flew them again last week. Different. The flight attendant was professional, warm, respectful. I felt valued. Not a problem to manage. The change is real. 6 months later, Dale Price stood in federal court. Judge presiding, courtroom packed. Charges, obstruction, conspiracy, accessory to negligent homicide. Dale pleaded guilty. Cooperation didn't mean freedom. Judge read the sentence. Mr. Price, you deliberately interfered with inspectors investigating safety violations that killed 61 people. You put profit over lives. Pause. 5 years federal prison, $250,000 fine, permanently barred from aviation. Dale's head dropped. Outside, Agent Ross spoke to reporters. This proves that discrimination and negligence will be prosecuted. No one is above the law. Within months, ripple effects reached across the industry. Delta announced similar policies. United increased training. American created passenger advisory boards. Congress held hearings. Opal and Owen testified. New bill drafted. Aviation Civil Rights Act of 2025. Mandatory reporting. Independent oversight. Severe penalties. It passed. Unanimous. Other airlines responded. Southwest overhauled complaint procedures. JetBlue implemented quarterly audits. Alaska Airlines created Passenger Bill of Rights. Industry publication headline, Flight 528 Incident Reshapes Aviation Civil Rights. Trade group executive quoted, 2 inspectors demanding accountability changed how we operate. The old way of dismissing complaints is over. FAA issued industry-wide memo. Lynn Ward's signature. Subject, Lessons from Operation Nightfall. Key points, 0 tolerance for discrimination. Mandatory crew training. Passenger rights protection. Federal oversight. Every airline received it. Every airline complied. 1 incident, 1 plane, 1 couple who refused to accept injustice. The entire industry shifted, because sometimes when the right people say enough, the system has no choice but to listen. 6 months after Flight 528, Opal and Owen Ford stood at an airport gate. Same airline, Apex Air, different crew. Owen looked at Opal. Ready? She smiled. Let's see if anything's changed. They boarded, first class, seats 2A and 2B. A young flight attendant greeted them. Hispanic woman, maybe 25. Her smile was genuine. Welcome aboard. First class is to your left. Can I help with your bags? No hesitation. No second glance. No questioning. Just warm, professional service. Opal and Owen settled into their seats. Another flight attendant, a black man, approached. Good morning. Can I get you anything to drink before we take off? Owen smiled. Coffee, Black. And for you, ma'am? Orange juice, please. Coming right up. Let me know if you need anything else. He walked away. Same warmth he'd shown every other passenger. Owen looked at Opal, squeezed her hand. Normal, he said quietly. Finally, she replied. The plane took off. Smooth flight, no incidents, no drama, just normal air travel. The way it should have been all along. But normal didn't come easy. Normal came because people fought for it, spoke up, demanded better, refused to accept less. Normal came because 2 people with badges decided that every person without a badge deserved the same respect. This story isn't about one flight attendant. It's about a system that allowed discrimination to thrive until someone with power said enough. It's about 3 complaints that were ignored until video evidence made ignoring impossible. It's about 61 people who died because profit mattered more than safety. It's about a bystander who stayed silent and a whistleblower who didn't. It's about witnesses who recorded, testified, and refused to look away. And it's about 2 federal inspectors who could have stayed quiet, filed a complaint, and moved on, but chose instead to go public, to demand accountability, to force change. Change is slow, it's imperfect, it requires constant vigilance, but it's possible. If you witness discrimination, here's what you can do. Document it. Video if it's safe. Your evidence matters. Speak up. Your voice as a witness carries weight. Report it. To the company, to the FAA, to the Department of Transportation Civil Rights Office. Numbers are in the description below. And follow up. Don't let it be dismissed. Keep pushing until someone listens. You don't need a federal badge to demand justice. You just need to refuse to stay silent. Because every time someone speaks up, every time a witness records, every time a system is forced to respond, we get closer to a world where everyone is treated with dignity, where passengers aren't judged by their skin color, where complaints are investigated, not buried, where safety matters more than profit, where normal means equal treatment for everyone. Progress looks quiet, unremarkable. A flight attendant treating every passenger the same, a complaint being taken seriously. A bystander speaking up, a company choosing accountability over denial, small moments, but they add up. Flight 528 was 1 plane, 1 incident, 1 day. But the change it sparked is still spreading, still pushing the industry forward, still reminding everyone that accountability isn't optional. The seats were never the real issue. The issue was who they thought deserved to sit in them. And when enough people said that's not acceptable, the system had no choice but to change. What will you do the next time you see someone told they don't belong? If this story moved you, share it. Hit the like button. Leave a comment about your own experiences or how we can keep pushing for change. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about courage, accountability, and justice. And remember, your voice matters. Use it.